Welcome to Messages from the Other Side with Janis. Many of you may have always wondered what a medium is, and today we're going to tell you as we introduce you to Janis Boscarello. Janis, thank you for being with us on the set, and it's nice to have you here. You grew up in Ruskin, Florida as a young child, and then most recently lived in the Virginia, Maryland area, and then recently moved to Atlanta, right? Or to the Noonan area.
Right.
You are a medium. A lot of our viewers may not know what that is. Tell me the difference in a medium and a psychic.
Well, a medium is always a psychic, and a psychic isn't always a medium, meaning that psychics could probably tell you that you have a trip coming up, premonitions, predictions. As a medium, I connect with your loved ones on the other side, meaning that they will give me messages that you can validate that that is your loved one on the other side.
How old were you when you realized that you had a gift and you were hearing or seeing things that might have seemed a little unusual for you?
12 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't imagine as a young girl seeing or hearing something. Did it scare you?
It did scare me. It scared me so bad that I have to say that every night I would go and hide underneath my mother's bed and just lay there and wait with a blanket over my head for many, many months. And then finally I talked to her about it. But back in those days, in the 60s and the 70s, it wasn't something that you talk about. There was just fear-based, that's all it was. Believing that it could be fortune-telling or voodoo or just something you don't do. So it was one of those things where you're just dreaming, don't worry about it. But the same thing happened every single night.
Did you hear and see things regularly through your life?
I did. I learned to block it, though, I have to say. Just for a lot of reasons. One, for judgment. And two, just not really understanding it at that time and being young. So when I learned to accept it, it was amazing, but I did keep it to myself. There's still a lot of people that don't really know that I'm a medium. So,
well, I'm sure that there are a lot of people that want to talk to you, but they're afraid.
Correct.
Or maybe they go, oh no, she's just saying that, she's just making that up, and it might happen to be something that is similar to something that, you know, might have happened to me or might be something similar of a family member. But as you and I know, you've done several readings with me, and the things that came through in our sessions were amazing. When you said to me, "Who is James?" which you would have no idea to know that that was my mother's brother. And then at the end of toward the end of the reading, you said to me, "This name keeps coming up, and it may not mean anything to you." And you said, "Who is Norma Jean?" And that just floored me, quite frankly, because that's my favorite aunt on my dad's side.
Right.
And then things that you continued to tell me on that Sunday afternoon in my living room, every bit of it came to pass, came to be within 1 week. You didn't know my uncle was going to die. You didn't know that I was going to reunite with the family members that my mother was telling you, because my mother, as we know, passed away 23 years ago, and it was really an awakening experience for me. And I always knew that Mother was with me, but talking with you that day, she reiterated that, you know, that...
You just didn't realize how with you she was.
Right. So let's talk about, you know, we always see on TV the reality shows with Teresa Caputo with the Long Island Medium, or Tyler Henry, the Hollywood Medium. How do you differ from those two individuals in particular?
The way that I differ is, well, I don't have a TV show, but they are amazing. I love all the mediums. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. I believe that because they open the doors for so many of us that do what we do. With Teresa, I don't differ with what she does. I believe that she gets signs and symbols as well. I believe she's clairvoyant. I'm not sure, so I won't quote it for her. With Tyler, he's fairly new. He's a young medium. He uses objects So he uses psychometry when he does sessions. So he holds an object from a loved one in his hand,
Oh,
which is
okay.
something that a lot of people don't know, that psychometry is if your mother had a watch or earrings and you would hold them in the hand. And then you feel that energy from that person and you get messages from that. And I've done that as well. Didn't realize that I had that gift until I did it like in 2008. I held an object and it was very powerful. But as far as different, we all, I believe, as far as with Tyler and with Teresa, I have a little bit of what they do. For me, I'm clairvoyant and clairaudient. I hear and there's quite a few clairs if people don't know what the clairs are. And for
So
me,
clairvoyant is visual.
Is clear vision. And for me, I can see spirit, and then they give me images and signs. It could be numbers, dates, addresses, and things that you may validate for like a birthday that's just coming up or an anniversary of something coming up. They always give me information in the physical world, which I'm pretty sure that Tyler and Teresa get that as well.
You know, it was amazing. I'll go back to one of my readings when you said there's something very important about the month that begins with A, and it's the 4th day of that month. And my grandfather was born August 4th, 1900. My brother was born August 4th, 1950. And that's very unusual for the first grandchild to have been born on my grandfather's birthday, exactly 50 years apart, right?
Right.
And that came through because I knew that that was always so important to my mom. She just thought that was the coolest thing to have birthed the first grandchild on her father's birthday.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it was interesting that that came through. Do you hear things that you question whether you should tell a client or not?
I do. I have to say that I have boundaries and I have filters with spirit.
Okay.
But I have to say, boy, as I'm sitting here talking with you, I'm getting chills because it just, when they come through, I actually
Well, if you have something you need to tell me, just come on and tell me.
Well, a lot of people don't understand there's a difference between, and not to change what you asked me, but between religion and spirituality. For me, I'm very spiritual, and it's all about, I do connect with God's light, and I do have angels around me. So when they come through, I just get so many things that I don't even know what, it's crazy.
But you also feel like a chill.
I get a chill from the bottom of my feet all the way up. And when you ask me, do I hear those things? I do hear. Not in the way that you and I hear. It's like in my head. If they say, I just need for you to say, and I want you to say this, Janice, to them. So validation for you, but it doesn't make sense to me. Then it's not supposed to make sense to me. I'm just supposed to say it. But I get some of the craziest things that I'm supposed to say, and I'm like, I'm just going to go with it, and I'm just going to say it, and hopefully you're going to get it. So they could tell me anything from a necklace that has a rock in it to a stone to where in the heck is my purple purse? I want to know what you did with it.
How funny.
So that's what they give me.
Well, I know too, specifically when you ask about a wedding ring or an engagement ring being lost, at first I didn't connect with it. And then I remembered I had lost my mother's engagement ring that I wear every day of my life. And I got it back after it fell in the gravel parking lot, and someone found it. But, you know, Mother knew how close that was. I mean, I was devastated. But she came through and she knew that. She also talked about a convertible, and crazy me, I drive a convertible, and I was like, what? No, she didn't drive a convertible, and I do. It was in my driveway. But you hadn't seen it. It was in my garage.
I had no idea. Yeah, they give me stuff like that, and also I can tell you sometimes too, there's forgiveness too that comes with that. For an example, I had someone that had a necklace that was her mother's. She gave it away. She sold it to give it away to give someone funds to help them. She felt really bad for it. The message to her was, and she didn't even know that I knew, you gotta let it go. You gotta let that go. It's okay. It's just material things. It's okay. I'm not worried about that necklace. So.
That is interesting.
Yeah. It's about.
Let's talk about what happens when you're in a public environment. Let's say you and your husband go to dinner, or you go to the movies, or you go to a public setting. Do you ever hear things that you feel compelled to tell someone that's a stranger to you, or can you do that?
I do. I do. For me, ethically, I don't, because I truly feel that I have to stay within my own energy. I do have a life outside of being a medium, and it takes a lot for me to get my energy where it needs to be before I get ready for a session. In other words, I have to raise my energy, and Spirit lowers theirs, so the vibration is high enough and theirs low enough where we meet in the middle. But that doesn't stop Spirit sometimes. They're very pushy sometimes if they want to get a message across. I have to say that I can't even think of a time that, I mean, there's been many times where I want to go up to someone and say, could I please give you, you know, this is who I am. And I want to do it, and that's probably one of the most difficult things for me is not doing it for Spirit, because that's who I serve.
Right.
It's very hard.
You know, it's interesting how you hear and you feel and you see things. Why do you do this?
I do this because I love to see people get validation that their loved ones are on the other side and they truly do have a message for them. And I have to tell you, for me, my heart gets so full with emotion when I watch them either grab their face or start tearing up or crying and say, how did you know that? And then I say to them, it's not me. You see, Spirit comes through me, not from me. All the messages come through me, not from me. And it's very important for me to know that they do heal and they can live in this physical world without them, and knowing that they're always close by. And I always tell them to watch for those signs and those symbols. And a lot of times Spirit will give me those signs and symbols and say, just say this. And they're gonna know that what you're talking about is how they know that I'm around. So I do it for healing and forgiveness. That's why I do it. And to watch their faces.
Right.
There's nothing
in the reaction.
In the reaction that fills my heart and soul more than to watch them know.
Do you think that there are people who have this gift that really may not understand exactly what it is and don't really put it to use?
Absolutely.
Or maybe they're afraid?
Absolutely. There's so many people that have the gift. And like I said, I mean, there's so many people that are psychics and mediums. We all have the ability to have it, but I have to say there's a lot of people that just don't want the ability, and they don't want. They're afraid of it, and I understand,
so they block it.
And they block it, and I understand that. I believe that today's society, a lot of our young children that are growing up, really are gifted. They're very gifted and they're very open, and there's so many open doors with their parents today versus what was back
we went through.
What we went through, and they're very open to knowing that. Well, maybe there is life after death, and let's listen to see what's going on. So that fills my heart to know that the young ones are knowing that they can be open and not be afraid.
Oh, how fun. Well, when we come back, we're going to learn a lot more and see what else comes up in our second segment. You stay with us. We'll be right back with Messages from the Other Side with Janis. Welcome back to Messages from the Other Side with Janis. We're going to talk a little bit more with Janis Boscarello about what she does in different aspects of her life with spiritual guidance. Let's talk about that. Well, exactly what is spiritual guidance, Janis?
Spiritual guidance is when a client comes to me and says, you know, I really don't have anyone that I want to talk to on the other side. I would just like to have some guidance today. So what I do is I really sit with their energy and I focus on them. A lot of times I do right before a client comes, messages that come in. So I can use oracle cards. It's a little different from tarot cards. A lot of people are a little fearful of tarot cards because the images on them can be a little dark. They don't mean to be, but it's come so far. In 2016, we've really grown with the oracle cards, and a lot of mine are angel cards. from Dory Virtue. I love her, and the messages are so clear and clean, and I use those. I actually put myself in God's light, and I surround myself by angels, and I use my spirit guides to help me to give them spiritual guidance. They'll have some questions that they want to ask me, and then I just go into their energy, and I see what their angels have to say, and that's what I give them, and that's what spiritual guidance is.
Now, you also do private sessions, or you can do group sessions. What's the difference for you when you do a group session versus a private? In a group session, I can only imagine all these people from the other side chattering with you, or these feelings. How do you sort through all that?
The way that I sort through that is that a couple of days prior to a group session, the only thing that I like to do is have first names, which I don't have to do. I've done it without it. Is I get in there and I ask that the group, first of all, they can have wine, but that would have to be after the session. A lot of times I have a lot of ladies that like to get together with their friends. And it started out where I could do maybe 12 to 15, but that doesn't happen anymore.
It's too many, right?
It's too many. The energy is crazy, and I could be there for 4 hours. So I've cut it back to 9, no more than 9. And for me, it's all about just standing there, and I start talking, and I give them a little bit about myself. And once I give my little speech that I do, Spirit knows when I'm ready. It's almost like they know that when I'm done talking and saying, this is who I am, they introduce themselves. I will start out, and then I just go with the first spirit. And then once I get to that person, whoever it may be, then another spirit will come in, and then I'll know where I need to go. A lot of times, sometimes I don't know. As a medium, I'm like, okay, well, I have George here, and who connects to George? And it could be this person and that person. And they'll say, well, I do and I do. So for me, Spirit needs to give me validation for them to say, okay, is it you or is it you? A lot of times in a group session, who you're sitting by, the message could be the same for the same two people. I feel like the message is the same for the two, but it really connects with that one person. And it can get very personal. Spirit doesn't have any filter. They have a lot to say. And if they want to say something in a group, I always make sure that I'm very careful how I give and deliver that message in a group.
I can imagine. Now, you can come to someone's home. You can also do readings over the phone, via Skype, FaceTime. But now you are about to open a new space in downtown Noonan. Tell me about that.
I am. I'm so excited. I am going to be at 2.5 East Square.
East Court Square.
Sorry. And it's right above the Red Mexican. It's going to be amazing. I have to get ready. It's probably going to be the 1st of May before I have anyone there. I'm hoping the end of April, but I am very, very excited. I'm hoping that Noonan is ready for me because I'm ready for them. It truly is a blessing. I'm very blessed to be on the square.
I think you will do great, and I think of the people, friends of mine that I know that have come to you and you have done individual or group readings. Everyone not only has really benefited from it, but now, just as I am, we're friends, and we are growing as our friendship, not because you're a medium, but because of who you are. And I think that even builds a stronger bond because there's a trust, you know, there.
Absolutely.
And it's been wonderful so far. And I know you just are going to love it here, and I know that the people are going to embrace you, and you know.
I've met so many wonderful people since I've been in Noonan, and it's not going to be just about me doing mediumship and groups. It's going to be workshops and courses and those kinds of things. And I have a friend coming in that's going to be doing Reiki healing, and it's going to be more of like a healing center. And I'm very excited. I'm very excited to be able to be working with her.
Now, we talked briefly about another type of event that some people might not think about. You've done corporate events before. Tell me how that works.
That was amazing. I've done corporate events here in Atlanta area. How it works is that a corporate company hires me for the day, be it for a friends and family day for their employees. They set me up in a room, and they actually had the sign-in sheet already and told me all the people I was going to see throughout the day. I got a lunch break, and to be fair to all the employees, we tried to make it between 30 minutes and not give someone an hour. I started at 9 and got done at 6.
Oh wow!
And it was amazing, and the employees were so happy. It was amazing.
Now, what do you physically feel like after a day like that, or after even an individual reading? Are you exhausted?
I'm not. My energy
Really?
is so, I am not. It takes a lot of chocolate. No. My energy is so strong that I actually have to calm myself down. My husband, Frank, always says that he knows he has to have a little glass of wine ready for me and some food ready, or either we go out to eat, because it really is a matter of me meditation, getting into bringing myself down, and then just eating and calming down. It really does take me about an hour to really get my energy back where it needs to be.
I have a personal question that we haven't talked about before. Did Frank know you were a medium when you first met?
He did not.
But he fell in love with you anyway.
He did.
But you knew you were going to marry him.
I did. I did when that's funny that you brought that up. When I was 14, I knew that I was going to marry Frank. I did.
For real?
For real. For real. For real. Jesus told me that I was going to marry this man with this beautiful dark wavy hair, and I know it sounds crazy and it's funny, but it was there, and I did obstacles along the way, but I did meet Frank and marry him. And when I first seen him, I was like, oh, that's what he was talking about. Oh, he's the one. Yeah. 38 years later, yes.
Oh wow, and 3 kids
and
5 grandchildren.
Yes. So when you
What a
asked me earlier
blessing.
about what I had in common with Teresa Caputo, one of her gifts is she has Larry, I have Frank.
How fun.
So he is very supportive. He's my rock. He really is.
How neat. Now, how do you price things? I know it varies.
It does vary. For me, I do hour sessions. It's
Okay.
very hard to do a 30-minute session unless we're really doing like a spiritual guidance session. I can do mediumship in 30 minutes, but for someone to really get what I feel that's their time is an hour. And then I do the group sessions, and that's a little different too. It all depends on if you're coming to me or if I'm going to you, so travel time. So.
Well, I know we have just a couple minutes left, but the few times that you have been with me, either in a social setting or when you came to my house and did the reading, it was really wonderful for me. It was healing, very healing. And I will say that my youngest daughter was a little bit hesitant until you met her and you talked with her, and you didn't know she was an interior designer.
Had no idea.
And you said to her, oh, you're in interior design, right? And she went, yes. And she looked at me and said, Mom, you told her that. And I said, no, I didn't.
Right.
And then you said, you paused for a moment, and having worked with you a few times, I can tell when things are coming through because
I stopped.
You stop.
My eyes actually changed too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, people told me my eyes changed. Yeah.
You have a different expression on your face.
Yeah.
And then you said to my daughter, who is Sean? And I thought the child was going to fall out on the floor because that's her boyfriend of, many years.
Right.
And it was that was solidification to her that you were real, because you did not know she was an interior designer. You did not know that her boyfriend was Sean.
No, and that's one of those the psychic development that I got is really there. So I've learned from doing, I did a 60-hour week, a lot of hours at Delphi University in McKaysville, and I also did a psychic development class to help me understand my gifts and where I was.
That's a great point, because I was going to ask you, do you need to do what we would consider continuing education to learn and to open yourself up, or was that class enough?
Actually, I don't think that anyone needs to, for me, I'll speak for me, I don't think that I need to do anything else other than my life experience, what I have with spirit and people that I deal with. I have learned in the last few years, actually, spirit teaches me. In other words, they will give me signs and symbols and say, okay, when I tell you this, when I show you this, this is what this means. And I talk about the spirit guides too that guide me and come with me. So for an example, if I see a horseshoe, I know that that's lucky, you see. So I'll say to someone, oh my gosh, what does 777 mean to you? Or I'm going to tell you and they'll say, well, I just won $20 at the lottery or something. So there's signs that they give me that I had to learn to communicate with them and say, now I know when you give me that sign, I know what that means and what I'm supposed to do with it. So I had to learn with them, and that's something that no one can teach you with a book.
What do you think it is, and this is maybe a hard question to answer, but I know on a couple of times you've said to me, like at one point you said, 87, what does 87 mean to you? And at that point, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. So from whomever the spirit was, at that point I think it was my mother, coming through, you know, I don't know what that meant.
Right.
But it obviously meant something. I just don't know what.
Right.
And it didn't bother me. It didn't confuse me. It didn't
Right.
upset me. But I could see where with some people they would get they perhaps
Absolutely.
would get frustrated, going, "Well, that doesn't mean anything, so she's crazy."
Right, right. And sometimes that does happen. And a lot of times for me, when they give me numbers, I truly try not to give it unless they say it to me. Like, if they're persistent, I can tell you, when Spirit's persistent, I will repeat myself 2 or 3 times. When they say, Janice, you have to say 77, or you have to say 87, or I want you to say April, just say April. And if the client doesn't get it, I say, you know what, write it down. Do what you need to do, and go back and just think about it. It could be 1987.
Right.
You know, it could be that your uncle was 87 when he passed.
Right.
Or it could be many things. And it's one of those things where I don't know, and then I just go with what I get, because when they're very persistent, I'm telling you, I talk fast, and I get chills, and I'll say, you know what, you maybe not know that now, but I'm telling you, when they tell me something, I'm very strong about it, you're really going to have to think about it, because I really think that it means something, you know, and hopefully it comes through.
Well, I know I have notes from all the times that you and I have sat and talked, and I do keep them with me, because periodically something will trigger a thought, and I'll go back and look, and then things come out and go, oh, that's what that meant, you know?
Right.
So I think it's everyone who's going to work with you needs to take notes, or bring someone with them who can take notes.
Absolutely. I always say bring someone with you that can take notes for you, because it's so emotional, and you don't.
It is.
And you're thinking like, well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't know. And you wouldn't believe the emails that I get, like, oh my God, Janice, I know what it means now. And I'm like, I'm so blessed. Thank you. That's validation.
Right. Right. Well, I can't wait to come to your new space on the square and help you celebrate. And I know that Noonan is going to embrace you, and I can't wait. So we are going to put everything on the screen so that our viewers can call you or email you or text you and get to learn all about what you do and become your friend. And all I can say is thank you, for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks. We hope you enjoyed Messages from the Other Side with Janice, and we also know that you will want to reach out to her and just sit and chat with her, because you'll be surprised and amazed at what she might have to tell you from someone from the other side. Thanks for joining us today.